Hi Tony, Jeremy Clarke from Yonda Interiors. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this discussion on the workplace post COVID-19. The first question you asked me was, have I found working from home? I set up Yonda Interiors 15 years ago, and I have, throughout the entire period of time, spent 2 or 3 days a week working from home. I work flexi hours when I'm here, so I'm happy to get up at the crack of dawn for my 5-minute commute from upstairs to downstairs via the kettle and start working whilst the rest of the world is still asleep. Likewise, I'm equally happy to continue working late into the night. It's really about being responsive to our projects and what needs to be delivered. I have, during that same period of time, also had a Regis office space when I've needed more space for architectural samples and for increased team meetings, very much before video conferencing was as prevalent as it is now. Tony, you asked about the good points about lockdown. One of the things I am most pleased about is how well the Yonda team has adopted the new technology platforms, or the multiple technology platforms available for video conferencing. We have a wide range of clients, many of whom have IT or security departments that restrict access to certain technologies. So we've found workarounds, and we're successful in maintaining how we deliver projects, get decision making done, and move things forward. My role at the moment is primarily about delivering workplace projects. I've got a range of sites from 25,000 square foot up to 65,000 square foot, where works have ceased on site due to the social distancing and landlords closing buildings as they're unable to maintain safe access. I think the flip side of that reduction in work is the extra time you have available for creative thinking and strategizing. So we're working on how we can best present Yonda going forward post COVID-19, and looking at what solutions clients need and what value we can add to support them in delivering their workplace environments. With this little bit of extra time that I've got, I've also been able to indulge a guilty pleasure, which is dipping into the cartoon strips, the Dilbert cartoon strips by Scott Adams. And he has a very wry look at life in the office and home working. And this makes me chuckle, which is great in these times of social distancing, social isolation, where you're not seeing as many people or socializing with the many. And it makes me chuckle, and that's no bad thing. Whilst working remotely at home from our main client teams, this has been successful with the video conferencing platforms that we've been using. But I do admit to missing the social engagement of being in front of a client and being in front of or working with colleagues. And I also think that one of the things that when you're selling design that you don't pick up via video conferencing is the nuances and some of the serendipity of the discussion and the engagement that you get from a face-to-face conversation, which I don't think is as prevalent in with the video conferencing. Tony, you asked me about the effect on the workplace once social isolation is lifted. I think going forward in the short term, we're going to see more screens erected on desks. We're going to see lower density. I know of clients reducing their occupational densities by 60%. So actually, we're going to end up going forward with large real estate, which is underpopulated by recent standards. So it remains to be seen at this point as to what changes are made to institutional standards for workplace design. And I'm sure the BCO will have a lead on that. Tony, you asked about the effect on the workplace post COVID-19. I think it goes without saying that hygiene and cleanliness is going to be a hot topic within the facilities teams, and employees coming into the office will want to know that surfaces are clean and safe, and it's a good place for them to be. There's likely to be a greater increase in technology, which will mean that you don't have to touch buttons in lifts. You can sign into your building using a swipe card or proximity reader without touching anything, and likewise the photocopy print vending areas should become, or could potentially become, touch-free areas. There'll be more hand sanitizer around on entry at various points. We know from working with clients who are reducing or who are doing shared desk space within their office that they are deep cleaning workstations after each and every use. And there's going to be a lot of focus on their well-being for employees. Corporate social responsibility will be very applicable to staff. Tony, you asked what are the positives to come out of the current situation. I think they're going to be that there will be positives both in and outside of the office. I think as employees become more adept at working remotely, working at agile working, that there'll be a continued growth in this. It'll be an accepted norm, the new normal. I think this is going to result in less commuting, which has the benefit of lowering carbon footprints, reducing pollution, hopefully all good things for the environment. I think there's going to be management change in the acceptability of remote working, or the need for that to continue. So hopefully there's going to be good improvements in protocols for engagement and how people report remotely and how people engage remotely. I think there's probably going to be more tools, more innovation in terms of platforms that we can use so that we can actually improve the way we communicate. I identified earlier that sometimes I felt that video conferencing was losing some of the nuance and some of the detail that you wanted to share. Hopefully that's my experience of working with video conferencing, and the tools we use will help enable us to sell our ideas better. And I think finally, as with the really positive response to supporting the NHS over this period of time, I think there's a lot more humanity and acceptance of individuals and acknowledging individuals and neighbours, and I hope that the community response outside of work continues within work, and that we'll come out of this with a lot more respect and tolerance for each other in all the difficult and challenging roles that we undertake.